More chips, don't let the salad win. That's the message in terms of nature of the food maybe that we consume in Wales.
Wrexham, Wrexham, Wrexham.
He's done it, the magic little man, Watkin. Oh, he scored! Steve Watkin has got a goal!
Ball breaks for Bowden, it's in early, as Rush likes it, and he'll chase it, he'll collect it, Ian Rush!
Bennett, and that's a second for Wrexham. Well, classic, changing defence into attack.
Conley! 1-0 to Wrexham, Carl Conley's done it!
Trundle for options, put it back to Morels. Oh, it's a good save! Oh no, it is, and it's in the back of the net. Andy Morel. What a goal! What a goal! What a goal from Hal Robson Carnham! Folks, good wicket kids up. Something special is happening here tonight. Wales are going into the semi-finals of the European Championship.
Wanagati, Ferguson has definitely won it for Wrexham now.
Here's Mendy! There's that race-class roar again! Saved by Foster!
Wales are going to the Euros next summer. Wilkinson's wonderful Welsh women.
Wales! Wales have done it! They've reached the World Cup! It's him again! Champions! Wrexham are promoted! They have their storybook ending!
The first team in history to eat more chips and not let salad win.
Hello and welcome to the Eat More Chips podcast, the official podcast, one of the most recognisable flags in the Welsh football supporters universe. Daz is in absentia again this week as he's still recovering from his gender reassignment surgery, but he's not really, by the way. But in a week when he's not here, but he's not having gender reassignment surgery. I'm just going to better get that out now, otherwise people will be talking. Anyway, in a week when what is thought to be the world's largest known spider's web, housing tens of thousands of arachnids, has been discovered in a cave on the Albanian-Greek border. After researchers published their findings of two different spider species peacefully cohabiting in a giant colony nestled in a pitch-black, sulfur-rich cave, evolutionary biologist Lena Grinstead likened the extremely rare occurrence to humans living in an apartment block. But the most surprising thing about the spider colony, which boasts an estimated 110,000 spiders, had less to do with its size and more to do with what scientists found inside the huge mass of funnel-shaped webs. The web is dense, it's more like a blanket, and when there's danger, the female crawls back and hides, so no creature of a higher order can dig her out of there. Spiders in the cave lay about a third of the eggs compared to the spiders that live outdoors, because it's certain that they will raise their offspring there, so they can afford to lay fewer eggs. They added that the cave, which also is home to large bat colonies, also thrive on the abundance of midges inside the humid, dark space. They are constantly having a party in there, both the spiders and the bats. It's fun for many years, as I know that my little brother has a morbid fear of spiders, something obviously I've been very sympathetic to avoid talking about. Lots of spiders hiding in the shadows, crawling across the desk. It's Jamie.
So I don't know what's worse. So last week you insulted me to the point where some of our listeners and viewers suggested that I should have a right to reply this week and I should do the intro this week. So Matt, yeah, well, that's what I said. I said there's no way you'd let me do that. But in all honesty, I think I would rather you take out an ad in the Sun to say I've got a micro penis than have anything to do with 110,000 spiders or whatever.
I remember when we were kids, I tried to put arachnophobia on and you absolutely melted.
Well, that's why I've got a fear of spiders, because when I was in school, right? So I'm talking high school now, so probably first or second year of high school. So I'm what, 11? Yeah, about 11 or 12. And this was at a time, different times then, but this was at a time where at Christmas, you used to get taken to the cinema to see a Christmas movie. So they used to walk us into town to the Hippodrome, which you'll remember, which is basically where the Rodney Memorial Park is supposed to be getting built.
The flea pit, as it was.
Yeah. And they used to walk us into town. And this particular Christmas, what Christmas film did they show us? Ho, 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 arachnophobia. I shit myself. And I've been honestly, genuinely scared of spiders ever since. I honestly hate the things. So yeah, thanks for that. I'll have a lovely night's sleep tonight thinking about that.
Yeah, well, enjoy that. Enjoy the thought of that with that lovely 110,000 spiders in a cave. Anyway.
Jesus.
Well, according to the Wrexham AFC website this week, fans donated over 230 kilograms of food, which is the highest amount recorded so far this season at the Charlton Athletic fixture on November the 8th, 2025, and was the second targeted food drive of the season, with the aim of them to support families in need in the wider and wilder child poverty campaign. In total, Wrexham Food Bank collected 230.2 kilograms of food, which will provide approximately 548 meals or 63-day emergency food parcels. Additionally, the food drive also accumulated £180 in monetary donations, which will go towards feeding the local community. There will be 3 more food drives throughout the season, with the next one taking place on December the 13th, 2025, when the Red Dragons host Watford. Jamie, massively important charity this. Great that Wrexham managed to do what they did. Plus the fact is that, you know, when it gets to Christmas, there are so many families in need. But what a brilliant, well done, the Wrexham fans. 230 kilograms of food is just stunning, isn't it?
There's obviously quite a big kind of history with the food bank, isn't there? Obviously over the last few seasons. I know in particular, you know, Jay from New York, he's crazy. When he comes over here, he always goes and does a run, doesn't he, to the cash and carry and buys shed loads of stuff and take it to him. But the local community, I think it's another one of those little signs, isn't it, for all the shit Wrexham gets as a town and you know, the people, and obviously there's a lot of hatred towards Wrexham because of the success of the football team now, from some, not from all. But at the core of it is a really good community of people. Yeah, there are some bad people, but that's true everywhere you go, isn't it? But yeah, what a great effort! It's just unbelievable, though, isn't it? In the day and age we live in, that these things have to exist. You know, there shouldn't be a thing. It shouldn't be a need for a food bank. You know, I appreciate that people's, you know, wealth and things are always going to be different, but people shouldn't have to be needing to use a food bank. But you know, what a great cause, and it's a good job they're there, isn't it? Because, you know, they, like you say, they do help so many people.
And if you are going to give to any charities this Christmas, think about, you know, Wrexham Food Bank, because it's greatly appreciated, and it's brilliant that you know, 60 sets of meals, that's 60 families who are going to help out just from that one day of generosity from Wrexham fans and beyond. So well done everybody who gave in, and, you know, long may this continue, because it's a great thing. So Sunday saw Wrexham Women travel down south to Pontypridd to take on Pontypridd United Women in the latest Gennaro Adran Premier game. Lineup, first of all, Jamie, 2 changes from the Llandudno game. Josie Smith back in for Leah Burke, and Lily Jones in for Cara Jones. Again, we're now starting to see a fairly firming up, aren't we, of that order, particularly the fact that Maz Mahmood, Josie Barker and Ava Suckley are up front. It's becoming quite a theme, isn't it?
Yeah, I think she's got in her mind her kind of first team now. Although, like I've said the last couple of weeks, I think she is very astute at altering a few key personnel based on the opposition. But I think she's got her, you know, the spine of her team is pretty set now, isn't it? And as we know in football, you know, you try not to change a winning team if you can avoid it. So it's unsurprising that it's you know, the lineup is fairly consistent with the odd change here and there. But yeah, it was another good lineup, wasn't it? You know, whoever she puts out there at the minute they're all, you know, they're all playing well, all doing their part.
Well, I was there on Sunday to see.
Oh, I know you were there. Couldn't miss you or not hear you. Jesus Christ.
Thanks very much. Yes, well, yeah, I was just supporting the team, that's all.
Just feel sorry for Dale and Luke's that was stood next to you. That's what I feel sorry for.
Yeah. To be fair, I still feel sorry for them as well. I imagine they got a headache by the end. Although, to be fair, the Wrexham Ultras, they can make a noise, to say the least. They weren't led by me.
It came across on the footage. You could, you know, it was quite funny.
So Ava Suckley rounded with a header from Katie Barker's shot off the crossbar after 90 seconds. Faye Knox, who'd already hit the bar up to this point, with a lifted shot in the box on 19 minutes. Ponty then managed to get a goal back straight after that. Lloyd shot in the box, deflected off Bartle's leg and sending the ball away from Craven in the goal, which is unfortunate to make it 2-1 to Wrexham. Wrexham then ramped up the pressure for much of the rest of the match, but kept peppering the Ponty goal, but Ponty just managed to keep them out until the 71st minute when Wrexham eventually broke the resistance. Hannah Snape feeds the ball from midfield into the box for Katie Barker to run onto. As we've seen many times this season, she uses her pace to attack the defence and slot the ball past the Ponty goalkeeper. This broke Ponty by this point because they were already under the gun anyway. Wrexham put the game to bed. 74 minutes, a defensive mistake puts the ball right at Barker's feet, the one person you don't want to put it to, who chases forward, feeds the shot, and to score her second. 85 minutes and a Hannah Snape free kick from the edge of the box, fired in for goal number 5. And then a last looping header for captain Jodie Bartle from a Rosie Hughes cross ended the game at 6-1. Wrexham is still second in the table on goal difference from Cardiff City at the top and 4 points ahead of Swansea in third. Jamie, don't know how much of it you managed to see. The game, have you kind of seen the goals?
I've seen the goals. I saw some of the game, not the whole thing, but I saw some of the game.
I mean, the interesting bit was that how we were expecting a high score, weren't we? I mean, you 8-1 was probably, you were probably thinking, oh, I'm on here because you said last week if I get 8-1, I deserve extra points.
Well, and I can't tell you how my emotions changed between the 2nd minute and the 45th minute. Because after 2 minutes in, I'm thinking, yes, here we go. I'm on here. We're on for 8 here. And then 45 minutes in, when we were only 2-1 up, I was fuming because the amount of chances that we'd had in that first half, I couldn't believe it was only 2-1. I mean, we hit the woodwork, about 4 times. Their goalkeeper had made several saves.
I mean, why do you think Wrexham struggled to break them down?
I think, well, ultimately, they couldn't have done a lot more other than obviously putting the ball in the back of the net more. They couldn't have done a lot more. They created so many chances, and I think, fundamentally, there was a lot of luck on Ponty's side in that first half. Because, like I say, I think Wrexham hit the bar and post like 3 or 4 times in that first half. Their goalkeeper made a couple of good saves. There was a couple of moments where just for the not something that we're not used to seeing this season, where the decision making in the final third was not as good as it had been. The best example of that is Katie Barker. When she was through on goal, and I'm thinking, when I'm watching, I'm thinking she's just going to shoot, and she tried to put it across for Lily Jones, and it wasn't the best of balls across the box, to be fair. But I was quite shocked that she squared the ball, to be honest with you, because from what we've seen of her this season, and like I said a couple of weeks ago, she is quite a selfish player, and I don't mean that as a criticism. I mean that as a compliment as a striker. And I just thought, as soon as she's bearing down on goal, she's going to do nothing here other than shoot. Just, like I say, little making decisions like that in the final third were a little bit off at times in the first half. But other than that, I don't think you couldn't be overly critical of them. I don't think Jenny Sugarman's the type. She doesn't seem the type that's going to, she's not going to have a Parky enthusiasm meter at half time. I don't think she doesn't strike me as that sort anyway. But even if she did, I don't think she would have needed to or would have approached a halftime team talk anything like that at all, because there was nothing to be critical of. I don't think it's not like,
Well, possibly the only thing would have been is as she said in her post-match interview, Wrexham had a lot of chances, and they were good chances, but they weren't turned into goals. And I think that's probably the biggest criticism I imagine she would have had. Wouldn't you think? Yeah,
and I think. But I think at half-time, the message would have probably been, although she would have been frustrated because they'd not converted some of them chances, I think the message would have been, you just keep doing what you're doing. Because the amount of chances they were creating, it was only a matter of time. It was incredible. It took until, 70 minutes or 72 minutes?
70,
it says
72
there.
minutes.
It's incredible. It took still 72 minutes before, we got that third goal, because it was just if it was a boxing match, it'd have been stopped a long time ago, wouldn't it? Because it was just a mauling, and unfortunately, it's obviously just what you expect to see whenever Ponty are playing, because they are. That their record tells its own story, doesn't it? With they've got no points.
I mean, you called it. You did say last week. Oh, there seems to be a common theme is something won.
Yeah.
So you were right on that. And the goal was a bit of a freaky goal because we lost possession midfield while we were all basically on the charge up front, and we were completely out of position on transition. And they just came. Yeah. They were lucky. They happened to have an open wing which their player could run into. We weren't covering because we were in attacking mode. We didn't quite get back fast enough. I mean, I agree. I agree with you. It's Ponty had a very obvious game plan, which was generally get in the way as much as possible within their third, so to try and close the spaces. And if you did get the ball, hoof it up front to their number 9, Lloyd, to basically try and make some chances. That was it. If you close down Lloyd, you stop them getting any advantage. And that's pretty much what happened, apart from for their goal, where they managed to get out on a wing where we didn't cover them.
But I think you need, you from time to time, you need a little, you need a little bit of a slap as a reminder, because the last thing you want to do is get complacent, both in individual games, particularly against an opponent like this, but also, as you continue on this winning run, you don't want to get any complacency coming into the game. So the occasional sort of little smack around the face to just kind of remind you, look, you've got to stay on this. You've got to make sure you keep going and you keep putting in the performances, you keep scoring the goals, and you keep winning the games is important. Look, you can't be critical of a 6-1 victory at all. The only thing you would say, the only thing you would say, looking back at the game as a whole, and I think it's constructive criticism, which is, given the amount of chances that they created, given the massive gulf in quality between the two teams, and given that the goal difference sort of column is one that we've all got an eye on, it was a little bit of a missed opportunity, because this could have been, and probably should have been, at least another, if I say 2 goals, it's going to be just because what I predicted, but it should have probably been at least 8
at least
or 9,
3, maybe probably more 4,
if not double figures. And obviously that then pretty much wipes out the goal difference. Although
they've still got to go to Cardiff. I mean, I don't know whether you watched any of the Cardiff Swansea game after this.
No, I didn't know. I saw the the alerts on Twitter where obviously Swansea went 1-0 up, so there was that initial. I think it was Matt from Racecourse Ramble. I saw his post, which was saying, I think that when Swansea scored, it was just the 2 eyes emoji. So I clicked on it and thought, oh, here we go. And then not long after, it was shit, and then double shit or something like that. And then I mean, it's what you expected to happen. The bottom line is as we talked about for the last couple of weeks, this is looking more and more like it's just going to be a shootout between Wrexham and Cardiff this season. Swansea are going to still be there or thereabouts, but interestingly, on the goal difference side of things, I heard you on your affair pod this week talking about that, and you made a very good point about the fact that to be fair, the goal difference is kind of irrelevant, because if we can beat Cardiff, that's doesn't matter. It won't matter. The goal difference won't matter. So it's unlikely. I agree with the point. It's unlikely that goal difference will play a part. Just given the fact that at the moment you can't see anything other than Cardiff and Wrexham winning every week. So it's you'd think it's unlikely either of them are going to drop points against anybody else. Never say never, because football's a funny thing. But at the moment, you would assume it's going to be Wrexham and Cardiff winning every week, and then it's going to come down to a shootout when they play each other. But football sometimes doesn't work like that. So any opportunity you get, like this game, to score more and close that gap on the goal difference, I think that would be the one thing that I think they probably would have wanted to have done. But still, you can't ask much more to go away from home and win a game 6-1. You can't be overly critical.
No, I mean, they looked disappointed at half time, and I think they realised because they were only 2-1 up at half time. I think they looked that, and I think even at the end they were, they were pleased, but they weren't. I think they knew they could do better, and I think the concern obviously is if you come up against an opposition who are of a better level, like a Swansea or a Cardiff, would you be punished for missing that many shots? Would you have that many shots in the first place? That's the kind of big questions, isn't it?
Well, it's that whole thing about being clinical, isn't it? It's similar to what we've talked about a few times this season so far on the men's side of things, which is you've got to be clinical when the chances come your way. You've got to be clinical, and I think that's probably the only criticism you'd have of the team on Sunday was they wasted. They didn't take. I wouldn't say wasted. It's maybe not fair, but they didn't take as many chances as they should have. Certainly in that first half. Like I say, I agree with what you said about their goalkeeper. I did see some comments online that kind of suggested she'd had she turned into
you don't let in 6 goals if you're playing a worldie. Let's be honest.
And to be honest with you, the ones that I saw, but either whether it was live when I was watching or when I watched the highlights back, the ones that she did save. I mean, credit where credit's due. She did save quite a few, but they were all saves really I'd expected to make. There wasn't any worldy saves that I could remember seeing. And like you say, she still conceded 6 goals. So I don't know. Maybe the backhanded compliment people were trying to pay her was the fact that she did contribute to keeping the score to 6.
Don't get me wrong. I think she was their player of the game.
Yeah.
Of Ponty, I think she was their best player, and I think that says everything really.
Yeah,
from a point of view of the level. Just want to talk briefly about Katie Barker. She now holds the golden boot for most goals scored in the league with 9. She's a goal ahead, I think, of I think it's Chamberlain. It's not Chamberlain. That's the goalkeeper. One of the Cardiff players. How good is she? She did 2 fantastic goals in this game. I mean, one of them was a gift because it was absolutely. There was a bounce off. The defender tried to clear it and just put it right at her feet, and she just ran onto it. But the first goal she scored, Hannah Snape, beautiful ball through into space, edge of the box, and she just goes sailing past the defence, takes the ball, takes the keeper 1-on-1. Well, the defender's trying to basically chase her and just slots it to the far corner. How good is she?
Well, first of all, you could have cropped that image on the top left there for the viewers because that's terrible that you've left yourself.
Devil? Who's that?
You've left yourself right in the corner with the bit of the flag that just says "Eat, don't" and a picture of you. Fair advert, that. Yeah, don't eat, don't look like this.
Oh, you look like me.
She's in this league. She's a cheat code. The more every week that goes by. And I think we had a conversation with Daz, didn't we, a few weeks ago about this? And I have to be honest, what's she doing in this league? With that, great that she's playing for Wrexham, brilliant. But she is just like I say, she's just a cheat code in this league. Pace, when I was watching, I rewatched the highlights earlier on just to remind myself on the goals. I can't remember which one of those goals it was, but one of them where she, like you say, the ball went through and she gets the ball, she's running through on goal. And she reminded me of somebody, and I couldn't think of who it was, but someone like a really low centre of gravity. But you think, when you see it heading towards the goal and a defender's quite close by, you think, oh, the defender's going to get it here. But there just always seems to be that little extra touch just to take it away from the defender every time. But she's just, blistering pace, brilliant finisher. Like I've said a few times, selfish, but I keep saying it. I don't mean that as a criticism. As a striker, I mean that as a compliment.
Well, you have to be. You have to have a certain level of focused. Yes. I'm going to get this ball. I'm going to take it. I'm going to drive. I'm going to score. There has to be that level.
all the best strikers were selfish. That's how it works. Yes, you can be critical if she's not scoring goals, is missing loads of chances, then you can maybe be a bit more critical. When she's scoring the number of goals she is, that's her game. But yeah, I mean, she's just at the minute. What do you say? What's that? 7 games in a row now. She scored
7 games in a row,
9
goals.
games in a row. I mean, literally, if she's playing, you think you would put money on her scoring in any game, against any team in this league. But she, just an absolute cheat code. And like I say, I genuinely, I don't know what she's doing in this league. She for me, she's.
Can we call her the female Alan Shearer yet? Because she's from the northeast. Unless obviously she's not a Newcastle fan, and then I've insulted her massively.
Yeah.
And if I have, Jodie, I apologise.
Yeah. To be fair, when I talk about being selfish, that's very much who I would use as an example. Is Shearer, all-time Premier League goal scorer. That may get beaten. It probably will get beaten at some point. But the reason why he is and why he scored so many goals is because he was quite a selfish player. And again, I keep saying it as a compliment. I'm saying that, not as a criticism. Look, the most important thing is that what she's doing in this league is neither in or there. The bottom line is, and what's important is that she's playing for us in this league. Whatever the reasons are, whatever the conversations were that brought her here, brilliant, happy days. And she can't do any more than she's doing at the minute, which is scoring every week in, week out, and it is a constant threat. So let's just hope we can keep her fit. Because at the minute, every time we play, if she's in the team, I feel like she's going to score.
Well, there were 2 games for the national side men's team. Now, breaking with tradition, I'm not even going to review the Liechtenstein game on the Saturday because I think it was dreadful, and anybody who watched it would probably agree. We were all expecting to turn up and at least, score a hatful of goals, and the eventual score was 1-0. I'm not going
to lie. Given that Daz isn't here, I'm glad you've said that, because as much as I actually was planning on watching that game, I didn't see any of it because I was having a fight with a toilet cistern at the time, and that's not code for I had the shits or anything. I literally was trying to fix the toilet, and it's something that I thought was going to take me max a couple of hours ended up taking me about 5 hours and nearly causing me to jump out the window.
Well, do you know what? You probably had the better experience than watching that, because it was a dreadful, dreadful game. I mean,
well, I think it summed it up when I went to watch the highlights, and the highlights were 2 minutes and 15 seconds. So I think that tells me everything I need to know. I
mean, Cymru laboured for a 1-0 win. Yes, Nathan Broadhead scored, but it was ruled offside. It could have been 2-0, but they laboured to a 1-0 win. Anyway, the most important bit is that we won.
Yes.
So that we got that out of the way, which set up a more important game at home, the Cardiff City Stadium, on Tuesday night against North Macedonia to basically try and qualify for that second place and the playoffs. Lineup versus North Macedonia. 5 changes to the team that was against Liechtenstein. Out due to suspension were Ethan Ampadu and Jordan James. Taken out from the team were Sorba Thomas, Nathan Broadhead, and Mark Harris, who, to be honest with you, I think is probably a good thing, because every time I watch Mark Harris play, I'm never impressed with how he does. In came David Brooks, Liam Cullen, Brennan Johnson, Josh Sheehan, and for the first time back from his suspension, the King of Corwen, Captain Harry Wilson, and as Jamie's tag says, you're a wizard, Harry, which was part of the commentary team said that at the time.
Rumour has it that Harry Potter wears Harry Wilson pajamas.
Really? Well, wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me at all. So and he came as captain. Jamie, that's probably that's fairly strong. I mean, Brennan Johnson starting. We've not seen that for a while. Obviously, Harry Wilson coming back from his suspension. That's great because he's very important. David Brooks, I always like because he is. I think he's a superb player. Lots of people criticise Dylan Lawler at the back. I've not seen anything but good things from Dylan Lawler.
No, I thought he played well.
He was okay against Liechtenstein. I think he's great. Any thoughts on that for you? That starting 11 versus North Macedonia?
To be honest with you, I didn't really have any major sort of any major opinion on it. I saw the lineup. I was a little bit surprised that both Broadhead and Sorba Thomas weren't in. He seems to love Sorba Thomas, and he's done well in a Cymru shirt in the last few games. Excuse me. Obviously, Broadhead scored in that last game. I was a little bit surprised that one of or both of those weren't in the team. The thing that I found quite interesting was when I saw this lineup drop, I was looking on Twitter, and there seemed to be quite a lot of people who were who didn't really like the selection of Sheehan and Cullen being in the same team. I saw a lot of comments suggesting that was quite a negative selection. Like I say, I didn't really have a huge opinion on it. I think what you do have to say, and it's easy to say it now given the result, but I think you do have to give some credit to Craig Bellamy for the selection. Ultimately, he's the one that's been analysing the data from these players. He's the one that's been in and around these players. He's the one that has to try and pick the best players he has available to beat the team that's in front of him. So you have to give him some credit for picking that team because, they well and truly got the job done.
So if Saturday night was a bit of a dirge, Tuesday was completely different. We're getting a bit like Italy. You don't quite know which team are going to turn up and play. Captain for the night, Harry Wilson, put us ahead with a penalty after David Brooks was tripped. Brooks then himself applied a fine first-time finish for Brennan Johnson's cross to make it 2-0. Cymru then let North Macedonia back in to tie the game less than 2 minutes later after a massive defensive lap, straight through the middle, which North Macedonia are renowned for. Rangers striker Bojan Miovski to score after the keeper slipped. That was a bit of a comedy of errors. Brennan Johnson then rifled a fantastic 20-yard shot into the top corner via deflection to restore Cymru's 2-goal lead. So in the space of the first 19 and a half minutes, Jamie, North Macedonia conceded as many goals as they had done in their previous 7 games in the campaign. In fact, these goals were the first they conceded away from home in this campaign. Up to that point, when we were 3-1 after Brennan Johnson's goal, how that was amazing, wasn't it? What a complete turnaround compared to Saturday.
Unbelievable. A relatively early goal, with the penalty sort of 15 minutes. But to be fair, we came out of the blocks hot anyway. But to get that early penalty helped because it helped just sort of calm the nerves. And then to get a second not long after was great. There was then conceding that goal quite quickly after was a little bit of a concern because of the way that they scored that goal was they cut through us like a hot knife through butter. Yeah. But then, to be fair, credit to the team, because they just reset and went again, and to be honest, from the off all the way through, were just absolutely fantastic. I think. We were very fearful of North Macedonia. We talked about it last week, and I think rightly so. They two draws with Belgium. Obviously we only just scraped the draw against them in the reverse game. They've had a very good qualifying campaign, so I think quite rightly we were fearful of them. To be fair, I don't think there's many Wales fans, if any, that anticipated what we were going to see, because it wasn't just the headline is obviously the result, to score 7 goals. I think given some of the recent performances, I don't think we were all a little bit nervous whether we could even win the game, let alone score 7 goals. But at times the football was unbelievable in this game, absolutely unbelievable. Excuse me, I mean you could wax lyrical about a lot of the goals. Harry Wills, both his penalties were fantastic penalties. Literally, you couldn't have gone and rolled them in any better. The second one was brilliant because it was shithousery. The goalkeeper was trying shithousery on him, where beforehand he was like saying, which side are you going to put it? And Harry Wilson, put it the opposite side. The free kick was absolutely top notch. Very much look forward to seeing him score them in a Wrexham shirt in a couple of years. It was absolutely unbelievable free kick. The Brennan Johnson goal was superb. Yes, you're right. It got a slight deflection, which you didn't see in real time. It just looked like a worldie in the top corner. For me, the one that really shone a spotlight on how good some of the football was on that night was Dan James's goal, the fourth goal. That was absolutely superb. If you watch that goal, it's a shame. I tried to watch it back on the highlights, and unfortunately the highlights only picks it up from pretty much the last third, when the ball's passed to Harry Wilson, he flicks it back and Dan James puts it in. But if you watch the whole sequence of that goal from start to finish, it goes back to front through every phase of the pitch. All the passing is crisp and precise and quick, and pass and move, but with purpose to move the ball forward. They absolutely completely isolated the whole team, the whole North Macedonia team, to move the ball up the pitch. And great bit of skill from Harry Wilson in the box again, and a brilliant finish from Dan James. That for me was the pick of the bunch of the goals. It's just an absolute superb goal. But the football, with the exception of the defending for that few seconds when we conceded a goal, we absolutely just dominated them from start to finish. We looked a threat every time we had the ball going forward. It was so refreshing and so encouraging to see us on the front foot, with energy, with impetus, and really going for it. Because in the last few games I think we were all probably a little bit concerned about where we were going. And I still kind of stand by what we talked about last week. And I know that's a bigger conversation we'll have once this qualifying campaign is done. Whether we qualify or not is kind of, where are we at as a football team, as a nation, and what's the future? But for this game on its own, yeah, absolutely unbelievable. And I'm sure it was great to be there. You and Daz were there, weren't you? So I'm sure it was great to be there. The atmosphere, I'm sure, would have been amazing.
Yeah, the atmosphere was incredible. Yes, Daz and I were there with the flag. It was a fantastic. It was the best full 90-minute performance I think I've seen Cymru ever play. Because normally we have a period of brilliance and then we've got backs against the wall a little bit. But that was considering that North Macedonia were this team who I think it was unbeaten in 10 or unbeaten in 12. They'd not lost a game within the campaign. They'd held Belgium to a draw twice, so not once but twice. I just think it was incredible, how we just basically absolutely hammered them.
Absolutely hammered. That's the only word you could use. The challenge, I think, now for Wales is look, we're not gonna beat teams. They're not gonna score this many goals every game. This is very much an anomaly. But I think the challenge for this Wales team now is to try and find a little bit of consistency with the performances that's closer to this than what we've seen in the last few games. Because in the last few games, and that Liechtenstein game on Saturday was the polar opposite to this. And I think, like I say, I'm not expecting, you can't expect them to play like this against every team, every game. But I think the challenge now is trying to, and certainly over, well, let's not look too far ahead, but certainly for the next game, because that's, don't look any further than that, really, because that you can't take that for granted. But I think if there's any, I think the challenge now is just trying to find a little bit of consistency with the level of performance closer to this performance than what we'd seen in the previous, say, 3 or 4 games, because this was superb.
So Harry Wilson curled in a beautiful free kick from 25 yards before scoring his second penalty, as Jamie's just said, to become the first Welshman to score a hat-trick since Gareth Bale in 2021. Obviously, Cymru were not quite done at the end. They made it 7 goals in one game. 7 goals in one game for the first time, wait for it, since 1978, where Cymru beat Malta. Nathan Broadhead tapping in a shot from debutant Isaac Davis's flick on. He must have thought his Christmas and birthday had come at once, because he was a late call up to the squad, Cardiff's Isaac Davis, to replace some of the guys who called in injured, and he thought there's no way I'm getting any time, and hey presto, he got 10 minutes and nearly scored a goal where for the Nathan Broyd not tapping that in. Cymru finished second in Group J, which meant the draw was today, so they are at home to Bosnia and Herzegovina in the playoff semi-final, which we played on the 26th of March 2026. Win that, and this is the big one, they will have to meet Italy or Northern Ireland at home in the Cardiff City Stadium on the 31st of March 2026. Win that, and they qualify for the World Cup in the summer. Jamie, let's look at the draw briefly then. I mean, first of all, how have you felt this campaign has gone with Craig Bellamy? Because it started when Craig Bellamy came in last year. It started off with a big, fanfare and this new way of playing, and we were on the front foot and everything was forward, and it seemed to go that way. And then this campaign, we've had some decent results. The 3-0 against Liechtenstein at home, that's fine. But we drew North Macedonia away. We gave away a very, very late... We had to come from 3-0 down against Belgium. And this is what we've got to remember as well, because, yes, we've gone through the qualifying draw today, but if we'd have managed to hold on in that game against Belgium, if it wasn't for that Ginger Ponce at the back post who won 4-3, if we'd have hung on to the draw, we'd have qualified, because we were only 2 points behind Belgium in the end. We'd have taken those 2 points off them, and we'd have had an extra point. So we'd have qualified outright. If we could have just hung on for 90 seconds. I mean, I'm being very greedy because we still came back, but it's 3-0 down at the end of the day. The Belgium home game started off well, but we lost 4-2. And then that lackluster win against Liechtenstein. Yes, it's a win, but people are still providing more. It just seems that they does, as you rightly said earlier, no consistency. I mean, is that how you felt in this qualification campaign?
You could send yourself cross-eyed thinking about what ifs and if we'd have done this and should have done that and this, that, and the other. Christ, if you thought about football in that vein, you drive yourself nuts. I think to answer your question, what do I think the qualifying campaign's been like? I think there's probably two answers to that. I think the quick answer is you have to be satisfied with it as a campaign, in the sense of we finished second. Belgium have won the group. They are fundamentally a superior team according to the rankings.
Yeah,
and probably a superior team when you look at the teams that were in the group, and you would say which one of those do you expect to win the group based on the players they have available, the size of the country, the ranking, and everything else. You would say Belgium. So on that basis, I think finishing second in the group is probably where we should have finished, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But there's probably a second part of the answer to the question, which is, I think if you look at it a little bit deeper than the just surface level, I agree with you. I think there are some frustrations from throughout the campaign with regards to some results that we've dropped points or lost points where we shouldn't have done. You're right. You're absolutely right calling out the Belgium one. The fact that we went 3-0 down was criminal in the first place. Yep. But to come back like we did, that was gut wrenching to watch that. But then there have been some other.
Maybe that's how close the margins are. As I say, that 90 seconds. If we'd have managed to keep him out and kept the draw, we'd now be going to America.
Yeah, absolutely. But like I say, you can't. I don't think you can dwell too much on what could have been. The thing for me, the feeling for me throughout the campaign is, yes, ultimately we finished probably where we should finish. So you have to be happy with that. I think that the issue for me with the performances is the fact that they, like I said before, they've been very up and down. at the start were brilliant, and then it seemed to tail off. And the last few performances, including the friendlies, haven't been good. They haven't been good at all. And then they go to finish the campaign off, pull this out the bag, which is less. Like I say, the 7 goals is an anomaly. You're not going to see that very often at all at any level. But the manner of the performance was the most important thing. And like I said before, the challenge now for Bellamy and for the squad of players, because you do have to say there's probably, I don't know, there's probably at least three players that you would say, if they were available, are probably starters in this team. So, you've got Ampadu, you've got Ben Davis, at least definitely those two. There's an argument with Kiefer Moore maybe as well. So the squad as a whole, whoever's involved, between them and then obviously the coaches, the challenge now has got to be trying to find a performance closer to this than some of the more recent ones we'd seen, because we've got a chance. We've got a good chance here to qualify. Yes, we're having to do it the hard way through the playoffs, and playoffs are always shite at any level of football. But we've got a decent chance here. We've given ourselves the best possible chance. We talked to death about the importance of finishing second, and therefore the pot that you'll be in, and the team you're likely to get in the semi-finals. You have to say we've had a favourable draw. Whilst I'm absolutely for a second not discounting or looking past Bosnia and Herzegovina.
If you could say it.
If I can say it, yeah. Well, the thing is, I was just going to say Bosnia rather than trying to pronounce and butcher the other part of it. But I don't think you can you? You have to. Yeah, you have to pronounce them as both.
I mean, we're ranked 72nd in we're ranked 72nd in the world, so they're lower than North Macedonia, because North Macedonia is 61.
I'll tell you what I refer to them as from this point on. B&H.
B&H, exactly. B&H bargains, marvelous.
Benson and Edges.
We're at home for that one.
Yeah.
So you'd like to hope that we could do that.
I think that game is more of a challenge than, and again, let's be fair to Northern Ireland and Italy. Yes, everybody is going to expect Italy to win that game. You do have to say that they have been dog shit through this campaign.
They've been rubbish.
Italy have been terrible.
Norway have absolutely schooled them in the 2 games. I think they beat them 4-1 while Italy were at home in the San Siro. Now, we've both been to the San Siro, so we know what a bowl that is, right, when Italy play. And Norway beat them 4-1.
Yes, I've still got the piss-stained jersey somewhere from the lovely Italian fans above us that were throwing bottles of piss on us.
Yes.
You have to say at the minute, of like the big nations, you have to say Italy are probably the worst at the minute. So let's not write off Northern Ireland. But again, going back to the rationale I was using before about looking at the group and who you'd expect to win, on paper, you'd expect Italy to win that game. But
Northern Ireland have held Italy to a 0-0 draw, let's not forget.
But I'm more concerned about the Bosnia game, because that one to me is more likely to be a game where there's an air of we've already won this. I'm not saying that's how the players will approach it, but you can understand if they go into it with the wrong mentality, if the crowd go into it with the wrong mentality. I don't want anyone to have that feeling of we've already won this, because we know all too well, if fundamentally we win this game and then we end up playing Italy, if it is Italy, we end up playing Italy and we get beat, it'll be frustrating, but at least you can hold your head high and say, well, we've got as far as we could and we've fundamentally been beaten by a superior team, again, on paper. But if we lost at this point, it would be quite frustrating. So the challenge here is to not look beyond this game and try and feed into, get the atmosphere, the red wall up for it, like as if it was a, last battle of a war kind of game. The players need to approach it like that, and the players need to go into this game and approach it in the same way as they did this Macedonia game. The challenge is for Bellamy is how do you get your players to to go into it with that mentality. That obviously, in some ways, it doesn't help the fact there is now such a big gap between the Macedonia game and this game now. As from a domestic point of view, I have to say I'm delighted about the fact there's no internationals now until March, because
yes.
As much as I like watching Wales and I like the whole international element, I also don't like the disruption it causes to the domestic season. So on one hand, I'm happy there's no more international breaks until March, but obviously it is a long time. There's an awful lot that's going to happen between now and then with players and with form and injuries and suspensions and everything else. So let's see. The bottom line is we've given ourselves the best chance, haven't we? And all we can do is go into this game with the right attitude, and hopefully get through to what will be a final, an interesting final. Although just on these internationals, I do just have to say, I don't know if you were going to mention anything else, but fair play to both Republic of Ireland and in particular Scotland.
Scotland was. We were watching the end of that as we were coming out of the ground. What a way to win! What a way!
I was following the scores of the game, like on a video printer thing on my phone as I was watching the Wales game, and it was 2-1 to Scotland, and it was like, oh god, it's like fair play, that must be amazing. And then that Dorgu scored 2-2. They were down to 10 men, got it back to 2-2 with I think 8 minutes to go, and I'm thinking, oh my god, they've blown it here. And then when I then watched the third goal by Tini, which was a brilliant finish, and the limbs were just unbelievable. The atmosphere inside that stadium must have been incredible. But then when the guy scores the winner in stoppage time from the halfway line, I mean, absolute scenes. And
there's always a little bit of fun when you see Schmeichel being beaten, particularly like that. So what a way to win it, though. I mean,
but unlike our shithouse neighbours across the border who despise everybody else, I'm genuinely chuffed to bits for Scotland and Republic of Ireland, because the more home nations that we can get in these major tournaments, the better. But I think the Scots and the Irish, they're just good. They're good. They're great fans, aren't they? As nations following the nations, they're great fans, and they're great fans to have at these tournaments. So the fact that the Scots and say the Republic of Ireland lads will be there as well. Fair play. That must have been some place to be. That.
Can you imagine the hangover in Glasgow and the day after? Oh my life!
What made me chuckle was I saw a video later on social media of a Scottish lad. What's that? What's the drink that they have up there? It's not
Buckfast. Buckfast.
And he basically was winding up the English, basically saying, "Don't try this at home" or something. And he literally necked the whole bottle of it. And I'm thinking, "Oh my god, that's going to be a mess in the morning." But hey, look, like I say, fair play to him. What a way to do it. And it's great, isn't it? It was brilliant. The atmosphere at the CCS must have been incredible. It was a great reward for the fans, because obviously, as we've seen over the years, like we talk about with Wrexham, fair play to the Welsh fans. They travel. I mean, there was a good number of them who went to bloody Liechtenstein on
3,000. They filled. They were. I think the total was 6,000, and there were over 3,000 Cymru fans there.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Over half the ground were Cymru fans.
But wherever they go, wherever Wales play, they're always well supported, and you can always hear them. And they are genuinely. We've got some of the best fans in the world. So
the masterstroke by the FAW is to have the Welsh national anthem played without the back soundtrack. Just let the crowd sing.
That is a brilliant idea. That is a brilliant idea, because the problem that you get when you see this with, I'm going to be biased because I'm Welsh, but I don't think there's many national anthems sung as passionately in international football as what you see the Welsh anthem sung. And I'm sure loads of other listeners and watchers of this will disagree with me till the cows come home, and that's cool. Everybody will think their own country is the one, but there's something about the Welsh one for me, and I think like you say, what I do always find with, and we see it at the Wrexham games, it's a slightly different scenario, but with the Fearless and Devotion song, where they leave the track on, and often the crowd singing of it pace is different to the track, and then you end up with this mismatch. So the fact they drop the backing track and just let the crowd do it is just it's spine tingling to listen to it, on the TV. So it must be unbelievable when you're actually in the stadium.
It is incredible.
So yeah, like you say, fair play.
Well, I know you're not looking forward to the international breaks, but I am looking forward to this. I'm like you. I think Bosnia is going to be very, very tricky. We definitely not going to sleepwalk into that one and think we've already got it. And then it's just who you. I mean, at least we're at home. That's the only really saving grace. I'd have hated to have gone to Italy or have to go to Windsor Park. Oh, wow, to Belfast. That would have been.
You see, though, that's the thing with like I was saying before. This is why I'm more nervous about this game, because I think as long as we can get past B&H, as long I just can't help. I can't help but thinking now of when I see. This is how messed up my childhood was. I've got a memory now, right, of going to the pub with my dad when I was about 10, and he used to send me to the machine with about £1 in change to get 20 B&H. Benson and Hedges cigarettes is what I'm thinking of now.
Yeah, Mum used to send us up to the halfway to the hatch. Send me up with a couple of quid to go and get bags. Yeah,
10 B&H. Yeah.
Happy days.
But yeah, as long as we can approach this game correctly and do the job, I wouldn't be fearful of Italy or Northern Ireland, but obviously in particular Italy, because that's who we expect to face. Because I tell you what, at the CCS, when there's something at stake like there would be, I would back us against anybody on a one-off game, because that's we would come down to we would be coming down now to a one-off game. It's not a qualification group. It's not you're drawing this game so you only get 1 point. It's a knockout one-off game, which is a horrible situation. I hate playoffs, but in that scenario, at home, when the stakes are that high, I would back us against anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the Eat Much's podcast, it's time for today's newspaper, tomorrow's chip paper, where we catch up on Cymru and Wrexham football news. First up, Wrexham Academy lost 3-0 to Preston North End in the Youth Alliance League. Wrexham Academy are now second in the table, 1 point behind Shrewsbury Town. Wrexham Under-18s are playing Swindon Town Under-18s this weekend in the Under-18s Professional Development League Cup, the final game in the group stage of this competition. They have already drawn with Cardiff City Under-18s and lost to Swansea City Under-18s, which means it's unlikely that they will progress any further within this competition. Wrexham Academy will host Port Vale Under-18s in the third round of the Youth FA Cup, played on the 13th of December. So it'll be interesting to see how they do in that, because they are now a part of a championship side. They automatically go in at the third round rather than having to go right the way through qualifying. The next thing, which we haven't seen for a while, Wrexham Reserves actually had a game. First game of the season for them versus Oxford United Under-21s, and they drew 1-1. The Wrexham goal from the penalty spot by Harry Ashfield, returning from injury. The side is mainly populated by academy players, but it's also an opportunity for first-team players to get some minutes playing. Jamie, we've said this for a while, haven't we? The fact that the academy obviously have their way of doing things, but there's not really anywhere for the senior squad who are on the outskirts to play. Having said that, there are only a couple of players, including Harry, in the Under-21s, but at least now we've actually had a game at this level in the Central League.
I'll be honest, I knew nothing about this game, to be honest with you, and sorry, forehead cam again. I've just seen who was playing. Yeah, I mean, like you say, there isn't really anything in the way of first team players there, is there, other than Harry Ashfield? It surprises me a little bit. You'd think now at this, a championship level football, you'd think that all the teams would have enough squad depth to want to have like a proper reserve league, whereby there's a reserve game pretty much weekly. To give, like you say, to give these fringe players, squad players, youth players, to give them competitive minutes. So it's a bit of a shocker that in this sort of generation, this day and age, that these reserve games are so few and far between. Look, I think ultimately those players that were involved in this game, I'm sure they will have got something out of it. I guess for the main one there being Harry Ashfield, him getting some minutes back in the legs after injury is a good thing. But yeah, I don't know. I'm quite intrigued as to why these reserve games are just pretty much non-existent.
I mean, I think it shows really that Wrexham's missing piece from a point of view of squads is that under-21 squad, because as we've said many times, there's a big gap between the under-18s and the academy and the senior squad, and there really needs, doesn't it, to be a middle ground where some of the more advanced academy players can move up and some of the senior players who are needing minutes can move down, and they can come together. And there is an organised league. The Central League is an organised, it's reserved, for want of a better word, but it's officially under-21s.
Yeah, it can only be a matter of time. That under-21 level, like you say, is such a crucial, such a crucial piece in the jigsaw of the kind of development and the feeding that first team at any level. When we talk about international football as well, the under-21s, it's the final step, isn't it, to kind of senior football. So it is a crucial piece of the puzzle, and I'm sure it can only be a matter of time before Wrexham have a dedicated under-21 setup.
The Cymru women's national side have named Melbourne City midfielder Laura Hughes, who has been capped once by Australia, in their squad for the upcoming international camp in Spain, according to the BBC Wales Sport website. Hughes, whose mother is from Gwent, is called up by Cymru for the first time, despite featuring in a friendly for the Matildas in December 2024. Cymru will face Switzerland in a friendly on Tuesday, 2nd of December, kickoff 11 a.m. GMT at the El Chapin Stadium in Jerez de la Frontera. Wilkinson's team will also play a friendly on Friday the 28th of November, kickoff 6 o'clock p.m. GMT at Malaga's Football Foundation Centre, but their opponents are still to be confirmed. Hughes, 24, made her professional debut as a 15-year-old in her home city club, Canberra United. She had a spell playing in Iceland before returning to Canberra, and then played briefly for Manly United prior to a move to A-League women's side Melbourne in 2023. Her solitary international appearance came as a substitute in a 6-0 victory over Chinese Taipei, but she is eligible to switch allegiances to Cymru because that was not a competitive game. Hughes is the only new call-up in the first Cymru squad since Jess Fishlock's international retirement, though there are 4 other uncapped players in Poppy Soper, Annie Wilding, Olivia Francis and Phoebe Poole. Rhiannon Roberts, Ella Powell, Rachel Rowe, Lily Woodham and Esther Morgan are recalled, having missed last month's defeats against Poland and Australia through injury, but Josie Green and Sophia Kelly are again absent. Anna Philby, Alice Griffiths, Lois Joel, Gwen Zimmerman, Scarlett Hill, Amy Rogerson and Tegan Scarlett are all omitted, having been in the previous Cymru squad. Mia Ross and Tiana Tezar are involved again, having won their first Cymru caps in the October matches. Jamie, I always like this, when we find a player that from nowhere that just happens to have my grandmother's grandfather's friend's dog's brother is once born and went to Machynlleth on holiday and can qualify. So this is a nice catch if this works out for Laura Hughes, don't we think?
I'd love to know sometimes how these things start and come to fruition. Because you think to yourself, how on earth has this been? How has this been found out? How has it been found out? How has it got on the radar? There obviously must be. They obviously must feel that there's a benefit to getting it to move or to switch allegiances, for want of a better word, and to be involved in the squad and things. And obviously there is that kind of. That kind of transitional rebuild that's going on at the minute now with some of the old guard who have retired or who are coming to the end, and there's this new wave now. So I think by bringing in quality, however that's being found, whether it's like you say, whether it's through a backdoor channel and somebody we didn't realise was eligible, or whether it's some of the younger players that are coming through, it'll be fascinating to kind of see over the next 12, 18 months to kind of see what happens with the women's team now, because like I say, there is such a big element of kind of change happening at the minute.
Wrexham have issued an update about the new purchase, The Rock, which hasn't yet been used by the women's first team. Wrexham AFC's website said, ahead of the next home game against Swansea City, we can now provide an update on the progress made at The Rock. Upon taking ownership of the facility in August, the club encountered many issues, urgently needing attention to bring the facility up to standard in order to meet the FAW regulations. There were also several issues which the club needed to address ahead of Wrexham AFC Women returning to the venue for matches. Since August, we have now completed work to the outer fencing of The Rock, reinstated electrical power, upgraded floodlights, and dealt with the infrastructural issues which would have caused problems long term. Another major issue was the condition of the pitch in high impact areas, which has regressed over the past few seasons. The club have renovated the goalmouth areas, now meeting the required certification of the venue, although this caused some additional delay due to the difficulty in procuring a matching surface to stitch to the existing surface. We have worked hard to ensure improvements to the emergency lighting, made minor renovations to the stand, and cleared all internal rooms to allow the next phase of the project to take place, and therefore utilise the open spaces within the venue. While we would have hoped for the women's first team to return to the Rock at an earlier date, it has been important to ensure that all work was done to a high standard as part of our long-term commitment to the Rock. The past few days have seen the Wi-Fi installed along with a new telephone line as we quickly approach a reopening of the venue, with pitch certification and FAW certification having now been achieved. As previously mentioned, the club have also upgraded the floodlights, a more difficult job than expected due to initial issues with power at the venue. This has meant that the floodlight certification is yet to be ratified, with a final test booked for the end of this week, with a view to Jenny Sugarman's side will return to the Rock with their Gennaro Adrian Premier fixture against Swansea next week. If successful, we would like to thank the supporters for their patience, and we look forward to welcoming you all back to the Rock in the very near future. Why do I get the feeling that we bought a 3-wheeled van from Del Boy and the taxes in the post? When I read
that, it made me feel pretty much how I feel about the new house that I'm currently living in, because that's exactly the same scenario where we've bought a house and moved in, and now are just finding all sorts of problems and issues that the previous owner seems to have just strategically placed things in front of or on top of. I'm a little bit surprised, to be honest with you, by the. I'm not surprised by everything you've just read off that statement. And when I read it, I thought that makes sense now why it's been so long. The bit I'm surprised about is the fact that, like you said, it's almost like this has come as a bit of a surprise, because there was no mention of, when this was announced, if the club would have said in that press release, if they'd have said we've completed the purchase of the Rock as the base for the women, however, there's now going to be a period of 3 months or whatever where we won't be able to play football there because there is a lot of work or improvements or renovations or whatever it needs doing that we're aware of, and we were aware of as part of purchasing purchasing the site, and now we're going to crack on with it. The fact that none of that was said at the start makes you feel like this has come as a little bit of a surprise. And if that is the case, you do have to ask yourself the question, well, what kind of due diligence was done on it? Surely they would have, buying anything, you would assume there'd be like proper inspections and surveys and things done, or did I don't know. I mean,
there could be a second scenario where they knew that some work needed to be done, and it's only once they started delving into that did they realise, actually, there's more work here. We could just do the little bit of work, but let's just do it properly. There is possibly that, but there is a lot of work. I mean, they would have had to, if they've got electrical problems at the ground, that means they have to run in a new feed cable, which is no wonder there was a delay, because that takes National Grid an age to put in, and it ain't cheap. It ain't cheap.
I mean, to be fair, you're gonna work on the assumption, because to be fair, anything that they've done so far from a facilities perspective, they've done it right, haven't they? Nothing's been done cutting any corners. So you're going to assume that everything they've done here is right. So from a long-term point of view of this being the home for the women's team, it makes sense that they've invested in it, and that's great. I think the only one thing that I did kind of pick up on from that press release that you just read out was the bit about the pitch, the fact that they've had to patch up the goal mouth. So I'm going to work on the assumption that the plan at the end of the season will probably be to replace that. Rather than, I'm going to guess that they couldn't do it now because it would take too long, or the people that would do it are unavailable or whatever. But surely they're not going to leave it patched up. I think they've obviously patched it up because it needed to be done to use it for this season. But I would guess that the longer term plan, like come the end of the season, would be to replace that pitch. But look, these things obviously needed doing, whether they knew about it or not. They needed doing. I'm going to guess they've done them to a good standard. And at the end of the day, if it means now that the women's team are gonna have a really good base to call home, both for them as players and for obviously fans. Meant to mention there about Wi-Fi being installed. I assume that stadium Wi-Fi that they're talking about there, rather than just Wi-Fi. Because if it's just like office Wi-Fi, then why would we need to know about that? So I'm going to assume it's like stadium Wi-Fi, which would suggest that they're obviously trying to make sure that the experience for the fans that go is a good one. But yeah,
it's when they move in, they go, "Oh, footballs! I knew there was something I meant to buy."
yeah. It's when they move. It's when they move in and they realise the hot tap doesn't work and they can't do teas and coffee then.
But it will be good to see them back on against Swansea, and it will be a key match, which we'll talk about next week.
Yep.
Curry, gravy and lard. No, not the front of Jamie's shirt, but the chip shop. Jamie stands ready to dish out some more footy goodies. Let's look at last week's predictions, shall we? And Jamie, still massively happy because he's 3 for 3 this week. He predicted correctly that Cymru would beat Liechtenstein, maybe a bit more. He wanted them more than more goals, but Daz was closer because he only thought 2-0. Win 1-0 in the end. Obviously, Pontypridd United Women against Wrexham Women. 8-1 was nearly on. Daz would have been gutted because at 5-1 he would have probably thought stop scoring. Unfortunately, reached 6-1.
I couldn't remember what he said. I was thinking because when it took till the 70th minute for us to get the third goal, I'm thinking realistically here, how many more can we score now? And I wasn't sure whether he said 4 or 5. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, no, I imagine when we hit 5-1, he was probably like, stop, but that's fine. And then Cymru versus North Macedonia, you two both said 2-1. I said Macedonia were going to win, so I dropped off more at the back of the group, as it were. But you two predicted the win, and so you two have moved on a point. You're still 2 points ahead at the top of the table. And it's all shaping up quite nicely. So, first into the fryer tonight, it's Ipswich Town. So this Saturday, 22nd of November, Ipswich Town will be playing. We'll be travelling to Portman Road in East Anglia for a 3 p.m. GMT kickoff. First game, obviously, back after the international break. Ipswich Town are one of the big clubs of the EFL. I remember them when I was a kiddie, being one of in the top league. They spent
black and white.
No, it wasn't black and white. Cheeky. They spent most of the 21st century in the Championship, except for dropping into League One in 2019. Then in 2023, they were promoted back into the Championship. And then in 2024, they achieved back-to-back promotions. We know what that's like, to get into the Premier League. However, they only lasted one season in the Premier League, having an absolute torrid time of it. They only won 4 games and were relegated straight back to the Championship at the end of the season in 19th place. In the summer, they spent £58 million, including £20 million on Sindre Ejidi from Noord-Zeeland, which I think are a Norwegian or a Dutch side, and then £13 million on Casey McAteer from Leicester City. However, they sold £87 million worth of players, so they actually made a net profit of £29 million. This season, they've slowly rebuilt and are currently 7th in the table with 6 wins, 5 draws, 3 losses, goal difference of +10 and 23 points, 2 points off the playoff. Their last 5 results: a 3-0 loss at home to Charlton Athletic, a 1-0 win at home to West Brom, a 4-1 win away at Queen's Park Rangers, a 1-1 2-1 draw at home to Watford and a 4-1 win away at Swansea City. Wrexham and Ipswich have never ever met in the league, which is incredible. I had to look it up. We've only ever met once in the entire 162 years of our existence, and that was in the FA Cup Round 3 in January 1995 at the racecourse, where Wrexham won 2-1. Goals on that day: Kieran Durkin, what an absolute hero and a legend he was, and a penalty by Gary Bennett in the 86th minute. And the chips are done. Jamie, this is a bit of a weird one, this, and I've really struggled to think about what the score of this one's going to be, because Ipswich Town, pretty much everybody has backed them to go straight up. They had a fairly torrid start, but they're just all over the place. They win when they should lose. They lose when they should win. They draw every now and then. Their home form is better than their away form, but only just. It's a mess. No Issa Kabore, obviously, for us. It was announced that when he went to play for Burkina Faso, he's pulled his hammy, so he's going to be out for 6 weeks. What kind of a game are you expecting from this one?
I agree with you. I mean, we've got to go to the Lego house. It could give me shivers, this one. But it could be perfect. We could be singing. Yeah, like what I did there. 4 Ed Sheeran songs I got in there.
Very good. If I knew any Ed Sheeran songs, I would be more appreciative. But I don't listen to the guys, so I couldn't tell. Because I'd look at you blank, going, "What is that?" Because I don't know any.
I shouldn't have said anything, and should have seen if anybody picked up on it.
Exactly.
No. I agree with you. I've kind of agonised over this. I found this really difficult thinking about this for so many different reasons. First and foremost, the fact that this is the first game after the international break. There's always that unknown. I mean, I think it was the last international break where we finished just before it strongly, and then we came back after it and we were dog shit in the first game after it. So there's that unknown. I understand your kind of assessment of Ipswich, but I've got a slightly different opinion on it, in that I think they started the season slowly and very sporadic and inconsistent. And I think that was just getting to terms with the amount of changes in their squad. Like you said, they had a lot of key players go. The kind of core of their team. They lost the core of their team, which is always difficult. They brought a lot of new players in. So I think at the start of the season, I think they were finding their feet. I still think they will be right up there. I would still think they'll be right up there come the end of the season. My opinion at the moment is what makes me a little bit nervous for us for this game is I think they're now starting to find a stride. I think they're unbeaten in 4. They've won 3, drawn 1 in the last 4. The anomaly to that was the 5th game. So the last 5 games, the 5th game, where they lost 3-0 at home to Charlton, which is a real head scratcher, because you think, as much as I know we beat Charlton, and it's not as easy as saying because we beat Charlton we can beat Ipswich, and because they beat Ipswich. But based on what we saw of Charlton, last 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, I'm scratching my head a little bit how they've gone away and beat Ipswich 3-0. But then I've listened to a couple of podcasts this week and heard some of the sort of Ipswich guys feedback to that game, and by all accounts, I think Ipswich battered them. For certainly the first half of the game, it absolutely battered Charlton. And then for some reason, there was just a period of time in the second half where they just scored 3 goals, and I don't think Ipswich kind of realised what hit them. So it was maybe a little bit of a red herring of a result versus the performance. This is going to be a tough one. I think. I think you've got a team in Ipswich who have got an immense amount of quality in that squad. That is a Premier League squad. Yes, they've lost some key players, but they've brought in some amazing players. They've got an abundance of riches. I mean, the 2 lads they've got fighting on I forget which side it is now. I think on their left side they've got two wingers. What are their names? Because it's rude of me to not mention names.
Smith and Jones.
No, so you've got
Lauren Hardy.
You've got Clark. And then there is you've got where is it? You've got
Shoes.
No, I can't find their bloody names. They've got two lads on the left hand side, I think it is, who are like both incredible players. And Jack Taylor's one of them. Jack Taylor and Jack Taylor is definitely one of them. But they've got two players who are really, really good. But they've got, all across the team. Sammy Smodix, who they bought from Blackburn. He's a brilliant player. They've got a very, very good squad of players. And like I say, I feel that they're starting to now find a groove. They're starting to find a rhythm. I've never been to Ipswich, but from watching quite a few games there, it looks quite an intimidating type of atmosphere, quite close to, fans are quite close to the pitch. I think will make a lot of noise. So on paper, this is a tough one. However, you've got to look at it from Wrexham's point of view and look at it and say, well, hang on a minute. We've probably played better away from home than we have at home this season. We're probably better suited to playing away from home than we are at home this season. We've had some good results on the road. Beat Norwich, beat Millwall, should have beat Leicester. Shouldn't have lost to Stoke. We've had some good results on the road. So it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if we turn up there and we put in another one of those performances where we're like we said the last time we reviewed games before the international break, we've become a very difficult team to beat. And I think the challenge, this is a perfect challenge for that, because here you are saying to your opposition, right, you come and beat us then. Here's the ball, you have the ball, we'll set up in a very disciplined shape. You come and break us down, you come and beat us. And some weeks you'll get away with that. Where it will become difficult is when you come up against potentially this kind of level of player where you've got really good quality. Can you hold them out long enough to then try and catch them, on a break and score that way? The Kabore news is obviously a bitter pill to swallow. Injuries are part and parcel of the game. It happens, and players get injured all the time at any time. It's always frustrating though when it happens when they're away on international duty. The real shitty bit of this is the fact that obviously the injury is going to keep him out for 6 weeks. But if you look at the calendar, that's going to take us into potentially beginning of January. And then if he's fit, he's probably going to be off for the AFCON. So we potentially could be without him for 10 weeks, 10 weeks or 2 months or whatever.
And let's not forget as well that Kakacic could still be injured because obviously he didn't go to New Zealand. Kiefer Moore could be injured because he didn't go to Cymru. I mean, what if we're missing them as well? Who plays where then?
Well, that was going to be the last thing that I was going to say. Was that's the other concern and the other thing that makes it difficult trying to predict this game is we haven't really got a clue on Kiefer Moore. Is we've said multiple times. I know the other pods chat about it, and it's pretty much universally agreed amongst the fan base that it was always risky having everything built around this one person. And yes, when that person is fit and he's firing, it's a success as it's been this season. But we've seen without that person, we struggle a little bit. We struggle. What is the plan B? And we've asked that question all season. If he's not fit, then we're going to be forced to find an alternative. I think ultimately, if Kiefer Moore isn't fit, then you are going to assume that the replacement is Sam Smith. But we have to, I fully expect him to play the two holding midfielders. So I'm going to guess it'll be Sheaf, again subject to fitness. Sheaf, Dobson. Matty James, Lewis O'Brien, I think will probably be the 4 I would expect them to probably go with, but with Matty James and Sheaf holding. But if Kiefer Moore isn't fit and we go with, we're going to play the same formation. It's the only way we know. But we have to play differently. We have to play it differently because you can't play the same way if you haven't got Kiefer Moore at the tip of the tree. Yep. The wing back side of things is a bit of a concern as well because we've spoken at length about the wing back side of things and about how important I think the wing backs are to this system. I think, like I've said a couple of times, although Kakachi and Kabore haven't necessarily both, when they've played, they haven't necessarily had amazing games, but they, in my opinion, they give us the best balance as wing backs. They're the best wing back options we have. They give us the best. They give the team the best balance, and we definitely look better when those two are playing, even if they're not necessarily playing fantastic. So the fact that Kabore is definitely out, and potentially Kakachi could still be out, what will he do? I'm going to assume that if they're both out, I'm going to assume we'll see Longman on the left and Barney on the right. If it's just Kabore, I still think he might go with Barney on the right.
Even though Barney's not been playing particularly well this season.
Yeah, he's not really had many minutes, has he? He's not really had a huge amount of opportunity.
True.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because trying to second guess what Parky's going to do is always a difficult one. We've played this game before. Bottom line is we've got to trust his judgment to pick the best team that he thinks to get the result done. The biggest concern from the team selection of all is Kiefer Moore, because like we've said, we've built the team around him. The way we play is built for him. Excuse me. If he's not available, we don't have a like-for-like replacement. So whether it's Smith, Hardy, you'd have to play a different way.
You'd imagine. I mean, again, because Broadhead came from Ipswich, would he be tempted to put him out to make a point?
Not away from home, I don't think, unless there's a problem with Windass. I mean, again, Broadhead showed us flashes, didn't he, on this international, in these international games. He scored that goal that was ruled offside in the first game. Good poacher's finish, and the goal he scored in the second game. If he doesn't get that touch, that doesn't go in. So again, another great finish. We've got to find a way. We've got to find a way with Broadhead, and long term, I don't know, but I don't expect him. I expect him to be on the bench. I'd be flabbergasted if he started this game, if I'm honest.
So time for the salt, vinegar and sauce Cork. Jamie, what's your score prediction for Ipswich Town versus Wrexham?
As much as I am worried about.
Is this the time to tell you you're on a 7-game winning streak at the moment?
Probably not.
I won't say that then, even though you are.
As much as I am nervous about this game, given I think Ipswich are on a turn the corner and are on an upward trajectory, I do think we can get something from this game. And I'm trying to be sensible, because for most of today I've been thinking I'm going to say a Wrexham win, 2-1 Wrexham win. I'm actually going to go for a 1-1 draw.
Nice. Well, Daz sent me. He hasn't sent a video because he's not well, bless him. But he has sent me a text, and he's predicted Ipswich Town 2, Wrexham 1, and I predicted Ipswich Town 2, Wrexham 0. I think this will be exactly the same as after the last international break when we played Stoke. We didn't turn up. We were half asleep, which I didn't understand. I went to that game as well. You wouldn't think that they just had 10 days off. I know it's not off, but 10 days without a competitive game. And it's even more advantageous on this one because if Kiva Moore, Kabori, Kakachi are okay now, they've not played international game either, so you'd expect them to be fairly sharp. But I've just got a nasty feeling there'll be a hangover, and I think you're absolutely right. I think Ipswich are revving up. I watched a live game with them a few weeks ago, a Friday night game, and they absolutely smashed whoever it was they were playing against. I think it might be Sheffield United. I think something like that. They were brilliant, and yeah, I can't see them losing this one, to be honest. So let's wrap those chips up to keep them warm. And next into the fryer tonight, it's NFA FC Women. Yes.
Just before you go on to that, Jack Clark and Jayden Philogene were the two players I was trying to think of their names.
Yes,
I just looked them up because it would have bugged me and it was rude of me to not mention their names.
Absolutely.
But Jack Clark and Jayden Philogene are the two players I was referring to, who both play on like the left-hand side, Broadhead's kind of position, basically. And who are both really, really good players.
Yeah. So next into the fryer finally tonight is NFA FC Women. So this week, Wrexham Women take another break from the Adran Premier League, and they start their journey on the Bute Energy Women's FA Cup against NFA FC Women at Ffordd Derwin in Rhyl. That on Sunday, 23rd November, kick-off 2 p.m. GMT. NFA FC, or the North Football Association Football Club, is what it actually stands for. Had a team accepted into the North Wales Women's Football League in 2019. In the 2023-24 season, they were promoted to the Adran North after finishing 4th in the North Wales Women's League. But in 2025, NFA were relegated. NFA joined the newly formed North Wales Coast Llandudno Kia Women's League in the next tier below the Adran North.
Are you making a show?
No, it's all true. They currently sit 3rd in the table, played 8, won 5, drawn 1, lost 2, goal difference of plus 13 and 16 points, 5 points off the top spot. In the first qualifying round, NFA had a bye where they should have played Prestatyn. In the second qualifying round, they beat Denbigh Town Women 5-1 at Denbigh. Wrexham, of course, have made it to the last 2 Bute Energy Women's FA Cup finals. Both times they met Cardiff, and both times they have lost in the finals. So they've come runners up twice. Maybe this is the year to finally get their hands on the silverware. Wrexham and NFA have only ever played each other once. That was in a friendly in 2021, with Wrexham winning 3-1. And the chips are done. So, Jamie, you're going to say it, are you? Free hit for NFA. They've got nothing to lose. Free hit for Wrexham, really, because it's a trophy, although we've seen that Jenny Sugarman, she treats all games the same. We've seen in the past, like against Llanystumdwy or Valenheli, Wrexham will ring the changes and mix the squad up. Although against Llandudno, she only made 4 changes. What kind of a team are you expecting her to run out on Sunday?
Again, I heard you talking about this on your affair pod, and I heard you say the same thing about the fact that you felt it was a free hit for both teams. And I think Matt kind of called you out and said he doesn't think that this is a free hit for Wrexham. And I kind of agree with that sentiment, because I think ultimately just because of the kind of stature of the two teams, the pressure's on Wrexham. I think whatever team she puts out, the pressure on Wrexham to get a result here. So I think it's a free hit for NFA.
NFA, yeah. It's
a free hit for NFA. For us, I think there's a bit of pressure on us because I think there's an expectation that we're going to win. I expect a similar scenario to the Llandudno game. So I was trying to find this before, and you've kind of half answered it. So what league do these lot play in?
So these play in the next tier below Adran North. So you've got Adran Premier, Adran North, and then you're down to regional leagues. So this is basically the North West Women's Football League region. And this it's sponsored by Llandudno Kia, which is why it's the Llandudno Kia League. But it's actually the Northwest Women's League, if you like.
Okay,
and it's all teams like Prestatyn and Kinmel Bay, and it's all the kind of all in that kind of region, in the northwest region.
So, do you have any idea? How many teams are in that league?
There are 8, I think. You just keep saying about how wonderful it's going to be, and the fact they're going to have no hits, and I will look it up now.
I'm just trying. I mean, obviously, I don't know whether to look. I obviously wasn't looking in the right places, but I was struggling to kind of find a little bit out about these guys from the point of view of what league are they in.
So there are 9. So in the northwest, what is it? The NWC Northwest Conference, I think it is, Llandudno Kia Women's League. There are 9 teams in the table. Llangefni Town, Kinmel Bay, NFA FC Women, Llanystumdwy are there, Pwllheli are there, CBD Merched, I don't know who that is, Carnarvon Town, Denbigh Town, and Traerthy. I don't know who they are. They've got no points though, and they can't win an argument.
So how many did you read? So 8,
36.
So hang on, don't turn that off. So 8 teams.
9 teams.
9 teams. So how many games? Have they played in the league so far?
Most have played 7, although NFA have played 8.
Okay, and where do they sit in the league? NFA
3rd.
Right. Okay.
With 5 wins, 1 draw, and 2 losses.
Okay.
Their last games, they played CPD Merched Henllan and won 4-0. They played CPDM Llanystumdwy, who we played last year, and they beat them 4-1. And they played Kinmel Bay Ladies, and they lost 2-1 to them. That's basically in the last 3 weeks. And then before that, they beat Denbigh Town 3-0. They lost to Llangefni Town, and then they beat Pwllheli Women 3-1.
Okay, so sorry, we've gone on a massive tangent. That's my fault. So I said I didn't really know anything about them. But to go back to your original question, I expect a similar scenario to what we saw against Llandudno, in that it will be relatively a strong selection. There might be some key changes. It wouldn't surprise me if you've maybe got like maybe Rosie Hughes comes in, even for Barker, maybe. Something like that. It wouldn't surprise me if you've got some key changes, but I think the crux of the team will still be very strong. And that is because I think, like I said, when we played Llandudno, she hasn't got the luxury of a huge squad. It's quite a small squad of players she's got to work with.
Just to give you an idea, so like I say, the end of last season, they were relegated from the Adran North, which is the same league that Llandudno are currently in, and we're in last season. Okay, Llandudno finished last season in the Adran North in 4th with 22 points. NFA finished the league 8th and bottom with 1 point. And we beat Llandudno by a disgusting amount. So
unless she literally decides to go and bring a load of under-19s in or something, which I don't think she will, I expect a similar kind of team to Llandudno, which was strong. Yes, there were some key changes, and some of the key players were maybe started the game on the bench, but it was still a very, very strong team. And they, as we said at the time, they approached the game in the correct manner. They were very professional, and they did the job. And my feeling is, from what we've found out and what we're learning about Jenny Shugman, she seems that sort that is ultimately a consummate professional, and will treat this game as such. And we'll say to these players, look, you've got a job to do. Go out there and do the job. And if
do you think she will have an eye on the game the week after, the important home game versus Swansea City in the Gennaro Adran Premier?
I keep coming back to the same thing. If she had the luxury that, say, Parky's got of a 25-person squad to pick from, then in these cup games, it wouldn't surprise me if you saw a full raft of 11 changes. She doesn't have that luxury. You've got the 11 that are on the pitch. There's 5 subs. I don't think there's that many more squad players she's got available, unless you start delving into, like I say, the under-19s or whatever. And with the greatest respect on the women's side of things, there is a bit of a gulf between the quality of the under-19s and the senior team. And that's not being critical to the under-19s. It just that's I think that's a byproduct of the bigger conversation about the kind of infrastructure and the setup of the women's game in Wales, and attracting more girls into the getting into the game. So yeah, I don't think she even if she wanted to, I don't think she could, because I just don't think she has the luxury of having a huge squad to pick from. Which is why I think, like I say, it wouldn't surprise me if you get a few key changes, like you say. That's a good point about the Swansea game the week after. Do you look at Barker and think, why risk her? Why risk her in this game?
You're playing on Ffordd Derwin, which is a school playing field. It is sectioned off. They have their own little part of it, but it is a school playing field at the end of the day. So it's not one that's open to the general public, but it belongs to
I was
school.
going to say, I heard you talking on your affair pod about this, and you were referencing the facility there as being, for that level, being reasonably good, which is, let's be honest, it can't be worse than some of the pitches that they have to encounter.
No.
I mean,
but I'm just thinking that if you've got a slightly rough pitch, would you want to risk somebody getting injured on playing on? I don't know. I mean, I'm throwing things in there.
I'm not sure. Again, I'm not sure she will have that mentality, because it's not like this is. It doesn't really happen anymore in like men's senior football. But if you think back to 15, 20 years ago, FA Cup, and you used to have a Man United or a Liverpool or whatever drawing
Marine,
a League Two team or a conference team. Those were back in the days where the pitches at the lower levels were shockingly shit, and they were so night and day difference. To be fair, now even pitches at the lower levels are pretty good. But
not just that though. Remember the game versus West Ham at the racecourse where we played in the snow.
Yeah,
with an orange ball, and Harry Redknapp lost his temper because
he lost his shit, didn't he? Yeah.
The game should have been played.
Because they literally left the snow on the pitch. They just channeled out the lines for the 18-yard box.
That wouldn't happen now, would it?
No,
that wouldn't happen.
No, not in a million years. Not in a million years. But the point I was trying to make was is on the women's side of it. In all honesty, a lot of the pitches they play on week in, week out are pretty dire. Anyway, that one last week that they played on, the artificial pitch they played on,
it wasn't good.
It looked on the TV. It looked crap. It looked very odd the way it was playing. I know you get the pellets flicking up when you play on the 3G or whatever, 4G or whatever it is. You get the pellets flicking up, but there seemed to be like an abnormal amount every time the ball bounced, every time the ball rolled, every time the players ran, and the ball didn't look like it was moving particularly freely. No, it looked odd. So, at this, unfortunately, again, comes back down to resources and investment. Unfortunately, the facilities at this level are just not great. So I don't think she will be overly thinking about things like that. I would expect a similar kind of scenario to Llandudno, where on paper, the core of the team is still solid and strong. And there might be a few of the what you call key players that are maybe start the game on the bench, and some of the other players come in, to get a start. Whatever team we put out, with the greatest respect, we should have more than enough to go and to do a job here.
And more importantly, are you coming with me?
No.
Okay, fine.
Sorry.
Oh, worth a try. So time for the salt, vinegar and sauce core. Daz has already predicted NFA FC Women 0, Wrexham Women 4. Jamie, what's your score prediction for NFA FC Women versus Wrexham Women?
11-0 to Wrexham.
Wow. That's massively insulting. No, it's fine. No. 9-0 against Llandudno, so
exactly. It is an insulting score to say, but I'm being realistic. We just talked through the hierarchy of where this team is, given how we're playing, the amount of goals we're scoring, the amount of chances we're creating.
Yeah.
If we do what we've done in recent games, there is absolutely no reason why we can't hit a big score.
I'm predicting NFA FC Women 0, Wrexham Women 6. I think definitely Wrexham Women will make a statement, and I think they will score, and I think they will keep at NFA FC. I think NFA FC will be up for it, definitely. They do have some senior players, some ex-internationals apparently. It's whether they can last the 90 minutes, I think, against this, the fitness that Wrexham Women currently have. They'll definitely be up for it. I'll be there on Sunday. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it'll be great. So let's wrap those chips up to keep them warm. And last into the fryer tonight, it's Bristol City.
Shit, forgot about this.
Bristol City on Wednesday, 26th of November, kick-off 7:45
I'm going to the game.
GMT. Jamie will be there at the Stoke Kairos. Not only a rhyming slang from the days of Benny Hill, look it up if you don't know what I'm talking about. Bristol City are one of two clubs. I make it laugh. Jamie's just got it. One of two clubs that come from the UK's 8th biggest city. We've already met Bristol Rovers, of course, so it's time to give the Robins a go, the nickname for Bristol City, which ironically used to be Wrexham's nickname until about 20 years ago.
I would love to know where that Rockin' Robin costume is. I would love to know where that is.
It's in the storeroom somewhere, isn't it? Because they used it in videos.
And if anybody hasn't seen it, Google Rockin' Robin Wrexham on a bike. That's got to be one of the best pictures
Somebody's AI'd the picture, so now you can see it actually riding around on it. Somebody's AI'd the picture, which is quite funny. Bristol City have bounced around the Championship League One, although they have established themselves in this league since 2015, so been here for 10 years. Last year, Bristol City finished 6th in the playoffs, but lost in the playoff semi-finals 6-0 on aggregate to Sheffield United. In the summer, they only spent £500,000 on Adam Randell from Plymouth to bolster the squad. And so far this season, they have continued to build towards the playoffs and are currently in 8th in the league. 6 wins, 5 draws, 4 losses, a goal difference of +4 and 23 points. Their last 5 results are 3-1 win at home to Southampton, a 1-0 win at home to Birmingham City, a 5-1 loss away at Stoke City, a 1-0 loss at home to Blackburn Rovers, and a 1-1 draw away at Watford. Wrexham and Bristol City have met 29 times in their history, with Wrexham winning 9, drawing 5 and losing 15. The last time they met was in 2005, while they were both in League One, where Wrexham lost 1-0. And the chips are done. Another one. Again, it's very similar to Ipswich Town for me. They're just one place below Ipswich Town. They seem to be doing okay, but they seem very, very erratic. I mean, it's a midweek game. It's another Wednesday night game. So we're going to be playing Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, because the next game after that is Blackburn Rovers on the Saturday. Again, what are you expecting from this kind of game? Bristol City are a bit of a strange team.
You're right. They are. I mean, like you read out there, you look at their last 5 results. I mean, I know Southampton haven't been doing particularly well, but to beat Southampton 3-1, to beat Birmingham 1-0, but then to go and lose 5-1 to Stoke. Now I know Stoke beat us at Stoke, but they didn't look like they could score 5 goals in a game against anybody.
1-0 and it was Sorba Thomas, and to be fair, us not defending the ball properly. That was the way they could score.
And then obviously they've lost 1-0 at home to Blackburn, who've not been great this season, and then drew 1-1 away with Watford, who have been dog shit. It's one of them. I think what it does emphasise is how competitive this league is. I think it's such a fascinating. It's going to be such a fascinating season. I think this next couple of months. I mean, the festive kind of the winter festive period is always, as a fan anyway. I'm sure the players hate it, but as a fan, it's always a great time of year, isn't it? There's loads of football on. Apart from the fact it's freezing cold, there's loads of football on. You've got games thick and fast, and it can really kind of make or break your season. But I think as we go over the next couple of months and then all the way through to the end of the season, I think it's going to be really fascinating. There is a little part of me that does think that similar to the kind of similar to the opinion I had of the promotion we got from League One last year, is I think we capitalised on and benefited from several big teams having off seasons. And this feels very much like that. What I'm trying to say is I don't think I'm not saying for a second we're going to get promotion. But what I'm saying is this feels like a season where there was actually a good opportunity to push for a promotion here, because I don't think you're going to get anyone like a Leeds or a Burnley that are going to run away with it. You know, you look at some of the big teams and the fact that, yes, I still expect Sheffield United to be there or thereabouts. I still expect Ipswich to be there or thereabouts. Southampton will probably come good in the end. You know, Coventry look like they're going to be right up there. So, but you know, if you look at the league generally, it's very, very competitive.
There's a lot of unknowns as well, and a lot of new managers taking over. Apparently, Leicester City are going to have a hearing next week about their naughtiness, so they could get between 6 and 9 points docked, which will affect things.
Yeah,
you know, and as you rightly said, teams who maybe started off badly will suddenly then come into form.
Yeah. The thing is, though, despite what I've just said there about, you know, Bristol's last 3 games, the fact they drawn 1, lost 2, they're still 8th. You know, they're still they're exactly the same as Ipswich. They're only 2 points out of the playoffs. So, you know, it's crazy. The challenge here is that it's that same old thing that I know we're like a broken record. It's always so difficult trying to give a prediction for a game, the second game when there's 2 in a week, because you have no idea what's going to happen on Saturday. You know, if Kiefer Moore isn't fit to start against Ipswich, but he's back for Bristol, that completely changes. You know, that completely changes things. So I don't know, but you've got to work on the basis. I think that we've had a couple of good results at home now in the league. You know, not discounting the Cardiff game, but in the league we've had a couple of. You know, we seem to be getting a bit of momentum at home again, and we are going to. You know, obviously we're going to lose games at home, of course we are. But I think, with the greatest respect, I think that this is the kind of team really that we want to be beating at home. I think. Because they're not they've been quite inconsistent. You know, they've been quite inconsistent, and their last 3 results prove that they're certainly not untouchable. But they have got some threats in their team. I mean, that the lad, the Twine, what's his name? Twine, I think his name is. What's his first name?
Is he Stringy?
Is he Stringy? I don't know. He might be Twine.
Oh, the name of Twine.
Scott Twine. So he's. I mean, he wears their number 10. I was just going to say he's a number 10 basically. So he plays off the striker. I watched him in a couple of games at the start of the season when they were on Sky, and he's dangerous. He is. He's the one player of theirs that I do know is a threat. But yeah, you can't take any team in this league for granted, no matter where they are in the league. We've seen it already with the likes of, you know, you look at Sheffield Wednesday and you look at their battles that they're having. You know, yeah, okay, they've had points deduction as well, but they're obviously they're losing and they're drawing games vast majority every week. That being said, when we played them at home, we were very lucky really to draw in the end.
Yeah.
You know, so there is no givens in this league. Certainly not this season.
Not. Everybody can beat everybody. I think that's the thing about it. That amazes me. When you just look at all the, when we look back at the teams and look at their last 5 results, everybody can beat everybody. There isn't anybody, like you say, who's absolutely marching away with it. Even Coventry managed to stop them. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, time for the salt, vinegar and sauce cork. I'll go first this time. I think Wrexham are going to win. I can predict a home win. I think we've got the taste back for winning at home now. I think it's going to be Wrexham 2, Bristol City 1. Daz has predicted a 1-1 draw. Jamie, what's your score prediction for Wrexham versus Bristol Cities?
I'm going to say a 2-0 Wrexham win.
Nice.
I think we've started to look much better defensively, and although the strikers and the firepower that these teams have in this league is something to very much be wary of. I think I fancy us to keep a clean sheet.
So let's wrap those chips up to keep them warm. And we'll be looking back at all three of these games in next week's pod. So there you have it. Hopefully Daz will be back with us next week. He is alive. I have seen him. I was with him on Tuesday night at the Cymru game, but he wasn't looking well then, and I think he's definitely under the weather. He's recovering from that bout of illness, plus he's working fairly hard. So hopefully he nearly made it tonight, but he decided to take the night off. Hopefully we'll see him back next week, and we were delighted to see him, obviously. Next week, we'll look back at the Wrexham men's games versus Ipswich Town and Bristol City, and Wrexham women's visit to NFA FC Women, before the men welcome Blackburn Rovers to the Stoke Kairas, and Wrexham women come home to the Rock for a vital season-defining game at home to Swansea City in the Gennaro Adran Leagues. Please let us know by the usual channels on social media or by email, eatmorechipspodcast or oneword@gmail.com, or leave a comment on YouTube or wherever you listen or watch us. Please feel free to send us comments, questions, because we always enjoy them. Thank you very much to my partner in crime, we've been fighting a little bit with the internet tonight, but we got there in the end. Jamie, what are you up to? Anything nice this weekend, apart from obviously not going to see Ipswich and not going to see Wrexham Women?
I'm hoping to hop on the Eurostar to Belgium or France or somewhere like that to try and see if I can watch the Ipswich game.
Excellent.
But, hopefully I'm just trying to see if I can get a last minute ticket to get on the tunnel.
Very nice.
No, beyond that, I'm just catching up still on a bit of work.
Lovely.
Yeah, nothing exciting.
Well, thanks very much as usual. Thanks very much for watching. And as always, come on, Cymru. And now we're back from international dates. Come on the town.
Clinton, 4-0. Thomas, after like a goal. That's number 5.
Plays it through to Bellamy. Craig Bellamy. It's 2-1 Wales. Craig Bellamy. Tony Hughes for Wrexham into the lead.
And that's it! Wrexham are champions! Wrexham are champions! Wrexham are the FA Trophy winners 2013! Alex Cross, great ball! Equaliser! Elliot Lee!
Back to back promotions. Oh, can you believe it?
The Eat More Chips Podcast!